to another edition of the Agents of Inclusion podcast brought to you by Special Olympics and Odyssey. I'm JR of the JR Sport Brief Show on CBS Sports Radio. New editions with new inspirational athletes drop every Wednesday. And if you haven't subscribed, do so now. What are you waiting for? And this episode is going to take us out to Rhode Island for a check-in with Mary Ellen Powers. She's not only an athlete, but she works for the Special Olympics office there as well. She's a woman of many talents, skills, and an advocate for inclusion. So much so that she'll be heading to Berlin, Germany for the Global Athlete Congress taking place during the Special Olympics World Games. Let's learn more about Mary Ellen, how she got involved, and what she is working on next. It's another edition of the Agents of Inclusion podcast, and this week we are going right out to Rhode Island, as I mentioned, to have a conversation with Mary Ellen Powers. We're going to figure out what she does, who she is, how she got involved with Special Olympics, and some of the cool things that she has coming up here over the next just really couple of weeks, especially one part of it may include Europe as well. Mary Ellen, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good to have you here. I guess the first question out of the box, who are you? What do you do? What does a day-to-day look like? And then we'll get into some of your past work.
Okay, so I am the Administrative Assistant and Athlete Leadership Specialist for Special Olympics Rhode Island. I work full-time here at Special Olympics, and my life is Special Olympics.
Okay. And so what does that role entail day to day, being on the administrative side up in Rhode Island? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis?
So I've been the administrative assistant here for almost 12 years, and I have typical administrative responsibilities such as answering the phone, greeting guests at the door, opening and distributing mail. I scan checks. I complete projects for the office, for the program department, for the development department. At some point, I help everybody in the office. So I enjoy being busy. We have our state summer games coming up, so we're in the busiest time of the year right now. It's our first full weekend back, so we're all very excited, as an athlete, as a staff member. So it's a very exciting time of year.
That's awesome. So you're basically the glue. You do it all. If you're not there, everything falls apart, right?
That's what they tell me.
I certainly understand. And so you mentioned being an athlete as well. So which one came first? Were you working in the office with your job, or were you an athlete?
I was an athlete first. I got involved when I was a teenager.
Nice. And so what got you involved, and what sports did you participate in?
So when I first joined Special Olympics, even before then, as a teenager back in the 90s, I was bullied a lot. I was teased. I had fake friends who were nice to my face, but were talking about me behind my back. As my friends started to date, boys didn't like me at all, like as a friend, or I was being teased. And it took a huge toll on my self-confidence. And to the point where I developed low self-esteem, and I became very shy. And most of it took place in middle school and a little bit of high school. But during my junior year of high school, I had, throughout my whole school experience, I had a small group of friends that I knew I could trust. And as I got involved in high school, I started to become friends with other people who have intellectual disabilities as well as myself. And they became part of my small group of friends. And one friend in particular said, "Come check out Special Olympics with me." So I went to a bowling practice with her, and it was I did not know what to expect, but it was like a magical experience for me, because I walked through the door, people were coming up to me, saying hello to me. Everyone was so kind and welcoming. No one was judging me. It was a great experience. In fact, the first person who introduced themselves to me is one of my very best friends today.
That's pretty awesome. Now, did you have any trepidation? Were you afraid at going at first? They were like, "Hey, come out to this bowling event." Were you just kind of like, "I don't want to do that," or were you just ready to check it out?
I heard about it. And so I was kind of interested. I wasn't very athletic in school, but I've always loved swimming. Bowling, I would kind of laugh at myself because I wasn't that good. But once bowling was the first sport that I started with, and I was so bad I called myself the gutter queen. But then I heard swimming was an option, so I'm like, all right, let me try swimming, and I've loved it. I've been doing that for 24 years.
That's awesome. So bowling helped open up the door. I suck at bowling too, so don't worry about that. You started off with bowling, and then you went over to swimming, and so you're still active swimming today to this day.
Yes, in fact, next weekend at our summer games, I am participating in a new event for me, 100-meter backstroke, and I've never done 100-meter anything, so I'm very excited about it.
So what got you involved in swimming? I assume you were swimming before you became a Special Olympics athlete. You were in the pool back at home or somebody's friend's house, or what got you involved with the love of swimming?
I've loved the water ever since I was a little girl. Like, there are even pictures of me at my aunt and uncle's house when they had a big pool with a diving board, and I was like, every family party, I was in that pool. So it kind of just stuck with me growing up.
That's awesome. Were there any other sports that you've tried your hand at, or anything else that you want to get into besides bowling and swimming?
I did do other sports. I did do basketball for a while and soccer, but unfortunately, a torn ACL stopped me from playing contact sports like that. But I still kept involved as I could. Like, I would go and watch the tournaments. I met my boyfriend. I met my boyfriend through Special Olympics, and he plays basketball, so I'm always there for him as a cheerleader and to see my other friends too. And I even tried coaching for a little while with my team. So, I'm hoping to do that again. So, you can take me out the court, but you can't take the game out of me. So.
Oh, I like that. That's a little bit of the Mamba mentality right there. I like that. I like that. So bowling, swimming, basketball, coaching, you're doing all this amazing work. You sound like you're the glue at the office up in Rhode Island. What inspires you to do all of these things?
My biggest inspiration is the athletes that I've met. I enjoy everything I do competing, but I also enjoy seeing it too. Like, I'm very observant. Like, I see the impact that Special Olympics has on other athletes. I love seeing my friends compete and being there for them, seeing the joy in their eyes when they get a medal. And even, not everyone loves a ribbon, but it's nice when someone is excited to see a ribbon too. It's a great feeling. And, athlete leaders too, seeing someone else give a speech or seeing someone in an athlete leader role is a great feeling to witness that. And another big inspiration for me is Eunice Kennedy Shriver, because she started all this. She took what she had created in her backyard into a global movement. And I've had the pleasure of meeting her a couple of times. And the first time I met her, I said, thank you. Thank you for what you did for us athletes. And on a personal note, my biggest inspiration is my father, because he was a competitive runner for many years, since he was a teenager. And every time I would get out and compete, especially with swimming, he would always say, give me advice. And he'd say, finish strong. So no matter what I do, like, I took swimming off during the worst of COVID, and this is my first year back competing. And, I can't wait till he tells me the day before summer games, you got this to finish strong. And I'm also inspired by my nieces and nephews. My nieces do Irish dance. My nephews are runners, like my father has been. And I see the goals that they set for themselves, and that inspired me. So in addition to what my coaches give me in my sports, I also give myself goals that I want to accomplish. And as a swimmer, my biggest hurdle is the swim cap, because one size does not fit all. And it has fallen off many times. But so far this year, it hasn't happened. So I wanted to stay that way.
Mary Ellen, you mentioned athlete leadership, and I want to ask you what that is and what the program entails. I know you're going to be going out to Berlin as well, but the first part of your response, you detailed that watching the athletes inspires you and what they get out of it. When you think about all the time that you've personally spent involved with Special Olympics, what have you gotten out of it?
I'd say the biggest thing I have gained, and especially through athlete leadership, is my self-confidence back. And, it was that first step of walking into that bowling practice, meeting people, but it took a long time for me to get over my shyness and to come out of my shell, as some people have told me. That has been the greatest benefit for me. And, with athlete leadership, you're out there, you're an advocate for other athletes, you're speaking up for people. And that's something I always struggle with, especially when I was being bullied back in the day. So I feel like Special Olympics has shaped me into who I am today.
Describe the athlete leadership program. What does that mean? How do you get involved? Who's a part of it? What's the deal?
So athlete leadership is where athletes can serve in leadership roles outside of competition for Special Olympics. They can be, we've been called global messengers. Now here in Rhode Island, we're calling it athlete spokespersons, where you're going out into the community, giving speeches, talking about yourself, selling Special Olympics in a way. You want people to get involved. You want to bring in volunteers. You want to bring in new athletes, sponsors. And hearing someone speak about their experience is a very powerful tool. And we have athletes serving on committees, our board of directors. And so that athlete representation is very important because, we're an organization for athletes, but we're also led by athletes. Not my words. I learned that from one of the trainings that I participated in, and it just stuck with me, and I use that all the time. And there are so many different opportunities being offered in different states and around the world. But here in Rhode Island, we're focusing a lot on, getting more athletes to give speeches as spokespersons, getting more athlete representation on our committees and our board of directors.
I've heard personally so many amazing stories from athletes, athlete leaders, just people, flat period, about opening up your mind and giving people an opportunity and a chance, and you'd be shocked at what comes out as a result. Can you just give me your thoughts on misconceptions that exist? And there's always barriers and false barriers. People kind of operate in a box, and it's not until you step out of it that you go, oh my God, you can do this. Can you talk just about that a little bit?
Sure. So, especially with my disability, I have mosaic Down syndrome. So at first glance, you can't tell that I have a disability. I had more of the physical features when I was a baby. And, but I'm always an advocate for people of all ability levels. I have a younger brother with autism. He's on the lower end of the spectrum, but I advocate for him all the time. He can talk. His language isn't, all that perfect, but me and my family work hard at advocating for him. And what I bring to Special Olympics, I always make sure that we are advocating for athletes of that ability level as well, because some people have a hard time finding their voice, and some, there are athletes who don't have voice either. So we want to be able to help get their message across as best as we can help them communicate.
And I think at the end of the day, everybody, what anyone would want is just an equal shot or a chance to contribute to society. I think that's what anybody would look for.
Absolutely. And I think another important misconception is that people call us kids. That drives me nuts. I'm 40. I'm not a kid anymore. In fact, I'm one of the younger athletes on my team that I could participate on because, we're as old as in our 80s, as young as 8. And there are great programs at the school level with the unified sports. They didn't have that when I went to high school. But I'm so glad to see what they have now, that there is something for every single age group. And of course, I've always been very passionate about not using the R word. And no matter what context it's being used, it's still hurtful because, it was our diagnosis before it was changed to intellectual disabilities. And I'm so proud of how it has changed over the years, and how, the fact that doctors have making the promise to not say that anymore and going with a different terminology, celebrities taking the pledge, and just hearing people on a day-to-day basis come to that realization, that hurt your feelings. I'm so sorry. And they learn from it. So we've come a long way from that.
Words are powerful. How have you seen that change in your about 25 years being involved in the movement? Just the power of words.
Just knowing that people stop and think before they speak. That's come a long way. Acceptance, inclusion. Even though I wish I had that opportunity when I was in high school, middle school, but knowing what it is today, I got to see a banner school presentation a few months ago here in Rhode Island, and I had tears in my eyes because it was everything that I wish I had when I was younger. And just looking at the students with disabilities and seeing the students without disabilities, interacting with them, and it looks so genuine. It doesn't look staged or phony. it's a great feeling to witness that and just be a part of that, something so big.
Describe to us what exactly is a banner school presentation. I understand unified sports is athletes of all levels play with each other, whether at the high school level or college level. But what's a banner school? What does that mean?
A Special Olympics Banner School is where they can showcase that they are fully inclusive, and not just in gym class, but in the entire school. And if you don't want to be involved with sports, but you still want to be involved, there are other ways. There are youth activation committees. And I always think about, one of my very best friends when I was in high school said, "Come sit with me at lunch," and just that simple gesture makes the world of an impact on a person with a disability. And I know this is a bigger definition about banner school, but I'd say the best way I would summarize it is that you are fully inclusive, very involved.
Come sit with me for lunch, or just a hello or hi.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that you have no idea what somebody is going through, what they've been through, what happened 5 minutes before you saw them. But
Yeah.
even a simple hello and hi can really, it could change somebody's world in ways that a lot of people don't even pay attention to. Being an athlete leader, for everything that you've done, everything that you've accomplished, you're on your way to Berlin, correct?
Yes.
You're going to be out there in the World Games. You're going to be participating in the Global Athlete Congress. Have you been to Europe? Have you been to Berlin?
I did go to Ireland back in 2003. We have a television show here in Rhode Island called Special Olympics Rhode Island magazine, where the entire crew are made up of Special Olympics athletes. And we were very fortunate that we got to go cover the World Games in Ireland in 2003. But this will be my first time going to Germany. And I'm interested to see what it's like, the culture. I've even taken up an interest in learning some of the terms. Like, I'm not fluent, but I've learned some basic German terms.
I know a little bit of German too. Most of it has to do with food and getting to the airport on time. So I won't give you any of the food advice. A decent Bus zum Flughafen. Is this the bus to take me to the airport? I know that pretty easily. So with your role as an athlete leader, what exactly are you going to be doing out in Berlin?
So I am one of 12 athletes from Special Olympics North America who are part of the Global Athlete Congress. And attending the Congress, that I will be sitting in meetings and sessions, learning about how I can improve as an athlete leader and things that I can take back home and teach to people back at home as well. And I will be presenting on a project that I've been working on for almost a year.
What project is that, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. It's called an athlete leadership university. So every single athlete that I know of is creating a project that'll benefit our programs as part of Global Congress requirements. And I chose to do mine around athlete leadership because I'm very passionate about that. And I chose to create an athlete leadership university, which is a series of classes that athletes are taking if they want to become or continue to be athlete leaders here in Rhode Island.
I love that. That's cool. So you're basically opening up the door for more folks.
Yes. And that's a big part of my position as the athlete leadership specialist here at Special Olympics Rhode Island, giving other athletes more opportunities.
That's cool. And so that's going to be awesome. That's going to take place during the World Games. So is there anything in particular that you really are interested in seeing and experiencing in Berlin? Is it the food, the culture, the music, community? Is there anything that stands out?
I'd have to say I'm looking forward to the overall experience and meeting people that I've seen virtually for well over a year. I look forward to meeting them in person, but I'm very excited for the overall experience.
I can dig it. You sick of Zoom like a lot of us, right?
Yeah, but you got to do it when you need to. So I try not to complain. So
you got to get it done the best way possible. So when you're not being a leader, when you're not being an athlete, when you're not cheering on your friends, your family, your boyfriend, what are you getting into? Like, what do you do for fun? Like, what are you watching? Are you watching something on Netflix? What are you listening to?
Well, I'm a true 90s kid. I grew up loving the whole TGIF lineup, like Full House, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers. I love shows like that, and I love going back in time and binge watching those all over again. But I have other hobbies. I enjoy working with pictures, like taking pictures, making albums. I during the worst of COVID, I made photo books for my family, and I made one for each member of my family. So it was just me and that person. So I really enjoy making photo books.
The creativity is right there. I love it. I'm a 90s kid too. Favorite TGIF show? Which one was it?
It was a tie between Perfect Strangers and Full House.
Full House. Okay. Olsen, little Olsen twins going on there. Okay. I could dig it.
Stephanie was my favorite because she was a middle child and I'm a middle child. So
there's a little bit of relatability there.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you listen to? Any particular musicians?
I like a variety of music. Some of my favorites are New Kids on the Block. I've been a blockhead since the 80s.
Is that Marky Mark? Or am I mixing things up? That's not Mark Wahlberg, right?
I think he did at one point, but then Donnie is one of the original members.
Right.
But I like varying artists. I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan. Yeah, I like all types of music.
Okay, I'm gonna get myself together. I'm over here mixing up the Wahlbergs. I need to get my stuff together. Mary Ellen, having this conversation with you, I feel like you're not even like glue. I said you're like the glue. You hold everything together in Rhode Island. You're like the whole toolbox. So like you coming equipped and you doing everything. You're helping other people out. You're doing things for yourself. You're the whole toolbox. What makes Special Olympics so great of an organization? There's so many people who just kind of see Special Olympics and they go, oh, it's cool what they do. Why should they give it a second glance and say, maybe I should just show up or volunteer, or maybe I should research a little bit more? What makes the organization so stand out?
Because it's for people with disabilities. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And that we are year round. Like, we talked about misconceptions before. Some people think that it's just summer games or is a one-time thing. It's not. Like, we have year-round sports. I have friends who compete in skiing in the wintertime. But that's when I would do my bowling in the wintertime. You got summer, fall, there's something for every season. And I love to tell people, encourage them and get involved. My nieces and nephews, they've been to events with me. They've the older ones are old enough to volunteer. My youngest niece loves making artwork for me that I can show my friends. And it's just a great feeling to be involved.
I certainly understand that. And when you're on the way to Berlin on that flight out, you're going to have a lot of time to sit down and catch up on quite a few episodes of Full House.
Yep.
You're going to have time. And then I got to ask you this. You're up in Rhode Island. Red Sox?
So I'm not a big,
okay.
I'm not a big fan of like watching sports all the time. I do come from a family of New England sports fans. My boyfriend is a diehard New England fan of all those teams, so I'm a fan by association. So I'll watch a game. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm a true-blooded Red Sox fan because I don't watch every game. Like, once in a blue moon, I will. So I support what the guys in my family and my boyfriend likes.
So you're there with the Celtics, the Patriots, and the Sox.
I do like watching basketball. So I like I know it's a touchy subject right now, but I do like the Celtics. I do like the Providence College Friars as far as college teams go. So.
Favorite athlete of all time?
Professional sports, or can it be a Special Olympics athlete?
Give me two. Give me two. Take your pick. Give me two.
I'd say as a professional, I'm having a hard time thinking of a professional athlete, but I keep thinking of
as long as it's not Tom Brady. As long as it's not Tom Brady, we be cool.
I will not say Tom Brady.
Great.
maybe I'll say Larry Bird as a professional.
I'll take that.
And there's a friend that I've known over the years through Special Olympics. He's someone I look up to. He's like a big brother to me. His name is Henry. So he's an inspiration to me, as is Loretta Claiborne.
And we're familiar with Loretta. We had an episode with Loretta right here on Agents of Inclusion. I encourage everyone to check it out. Tell us about Henry.
So Henry is a Special Olympics athlete. He's actually the first athlete who got involved with our television show, and he's led that for a long time. He was an athlete. He's done various sports, and he's got great big brother qualities that you just love about him. He's just so friendly. And I always say in Special Olympics, I've made so many great friends, and we are like a second family. Our office, we work in different departments, but we work together. And my friend Henry is really like a big brother. We talked about that friendship where like someone says, come sit with me at the lunch table. And someone who did that for me back in the day has been the epitome of a lifelong best friend. I was a bridesmaid in her wedding. I am godmother to her son. And, that's just one example of the many friendships you can have with a person with a disability, an intellectual disability, any type of disability.
I love it. It's a sense of community. And I'm always going to go back to what you said. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, hey, do you want to sit down and have lunch? It's a lot of the simple things that open up doors, and it could really change your life forever. Mary Ellen, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us and tell us about you, your story, and everything that you've already had an impact on. I look forward to meeting you sooner than later in person as well, because you ain't just the glue to the office. You the whole toolbox, and now you're going all over the world.
Thank you very much.
I wish you nothing but the best in Berlin. Good luck, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Mary Ellen for sharing her story and being an advocate for others. And that's right, she's not the glue holding things together. She's the entire toolbox. She has it all. Good luck to Mary Ellen and every athlete participating in the Global Athlete Congress. They're going forward to help implement change. And if you want to help implement change in your city, in your state, in your town, go to specialolympics.org to find a local event or program near you. There are events all over the world, all year round. That means wherever you live too. Learn how inclusivity is a benefit to all of us in society. I'm JR from CBS Sports Radio. This is the Agents of Inclusion podcast, brought to you by Special Olympics and Odyssey. New episodes drop every Wednesday, but don't just subscribe. Go outside and be inclusive.